I think this is the best sports movie ever made.
Do you think this movie oversimplified the things that they were looking at to build this team?
Do you think the omission of that information kind of might change your perspective on this movie at all?
Based off of his character in the movie, though, I love the ending. It makes no sense why he made that decision.
It is really tragic what's happening to the A's in real life.
I think we're overlooking the fact that Nick is a generational Little League player. This is Sam. His defect is he gets no bitches.
All right, today we're going to be talking. This is the second attempt, but today we're going to be talking about the
Why would you call
2011.
attention to it?
Because it needed to be.
Run it back one more time.
We can't lie to our viewers. Like this, like everything went to shit the first time. Yeah, everything went to shit the first time, and it's all your fault. And
That's what editing. So now it's your fault. Now you're making it a scene.
Well, it is what it is. Anyways, this is my favorite sports movie. The rewatch confirmed it, but I do have a bias for baseball. It is my favorite sport. And I especially enjoy like the strategy of building a team, like what makes a good baseball player in a sport where there's several different like skills that you need to have. What if there was like one stat to like narrow it all down to, what would that be? And the A's were the basically the first team to adopt the Bill James strategy of the fact that there's no clock in baseball. You have 27 outs. And what if we just signed a bunch of players who are really good at not making outs? And that was basically what they went with. And they were able to compete with some of the best teams despite having like such a low payroll. And I think Moneyball holds up even if you're not a huge baseball fan, but I'm interested to hear like what you guys have to say about it and what you guys thought about this movie.
I can second Chris's opinion. I think this is the best sports movie ever made. For sure, I put it in my top 5. I think this is like it's one of my favorite movies, period, ever made. But for sure, top of the sports. I think all the acting is like insanely good. Brad Pitt plays like a perfect. I don't know what Billy Beane was like in real life, but he plays like such a like lovable douchebag almost. Like he's kind of like a dick, but
he's cocky, dude. Like he's really. I mean, he was a professional baseball player. Like he's gonna think he's a shit a little bit.
Yeah, dude. He comes off like super like believably confident, but also like this could all hit the fan very quickly. But whatever, we're gonna do it.
That was something that I was interesting because that's like why they picked him kind of to be like a professional player. He mentioned like that the whole time you hear them talk, they pick people that are like that. That's what they were like talking about. It's like super confident guys that they were picking, not just off of their stats and stuff like that. And he's one of the guys they picked off of just his personality. Mm-hmm. It's super interesting. But I actually really like this movie. I get why people love it so much. I mean, I'm not the biggest baseball guy. I'm not a big fan of it. So it's not like I have the big baseball nostalgia to like make me love it any extra, but it's super cool and interesting. I think learning like the sports stats stuff is super interesting in general. And I will say that I think like the casting for this movie is like perfect. Like Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt are amazing, but the guy who plays the coach, I'm trying to remember his name, dude. Philip Seymour Hoffman. That scene when he tells him he cut or traded their best players, dude, and there's like literally 5 seconds where he's just like I literally laughed as hard as possible because that was so funny.
That has my favorite Jonah Hill line in it too. When he's
you want me to close the door?
He goes, "You want this door shut?"
No, that was so funny because he was finally like starting to act like Brad Pitt, but on the way out he's like, "You want this closed?"
So this is one of those ones that like my first viewing experience. I feel like everyone has like a non-optimal way of viewing a movie for the first time that's happened to them. I watched this on a like 15-inch screen on a bus.
Why?
You were there.
Yeah.
We were holding hands.
And so and I don't think I even half paid attention to it. But, upon actually getting a proper, method of watching this movie and also being a big fan of, baseball.
Giving it the time to like actually watch it.
This is like absolutely like the premier like for the fan kind of movie for baseball. Like if you like actually like really give a shit about like sabermetrics and all that kind of stuff, this is like for, because that's what most of this is most of it is just sitting down and discussing these kind of stats and like, you know, all the different like possible things you can do with it. It's not like, because they mention repeatedly kind of like how like baseball is like how like romantic of a sport it is.
Yeah.
Which I feel like in a lot of ways this is kind of like the inverse of that, where like you have a lot of different like, and sports movies in general, where they're usually like, you know, there's like the drama of like the underdogs or the lone player who's trying to redeem himself, and you know, that usual kind of format. But this one is it's kind of interesting that it's about like, you know, somebody like a general manager of a team, you know, instead of like a play. And then there's obviously like the players too that there's just a focus on. But I like the perspective of this movie is very interesting.
So for me, it's like I loved this movie first off, and I remember seeing it for the first time whenever I was younger, and kind of like everyone else was saying, I didn't really have a true appreciation for it. I was only watching it, you know, because it was baseball. I was playing baseball. I liked it because of that. But this movie's it's a lot deeper than that. It's not just about baseball. It's not just about the fact that they, you know, put together this ragtag team of money. They didn't just put together like who just said, you know, about how did you word it, John? Or was it Nate?
Romantic baseball.
Not the romantic part. I think it was Nate. You're the one who said it. I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
Well, about what? Well, that's what I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh,
but I'm like...
the cockiness about these players who just have pure confidence. I don't think it was just that. For me, it was like you got this failed, you know, baseball player. Like he was, you know, supposedly supposed to be. He was the hot shit, you know, coming out. He was going to be the next best thing, and he fails. So it's kind of like I saw this as like a huge redemption story, and he's not only redeeming himself, but he's, you know, giving all of these players redemption. He's giving them a second chance. It was just the most true underdog story I could think of, and that's kind of like that's what stuck around with me this time. And then the other part that stuck out with me was the cinematography and the lighting.
Oh yeah, it is a beautiful movie.
First it's just
surprisingly
a beautiful movie, beautifully shot movie, but the use of the lighting and darkness, they used darkness to their advantage. There's just so many scenes where you got, you know, one person sitting there alone in the locker room, you got two lights, you know, that are you know, burnt out above him, and he's just sitting there like this. I don't remember which player it was, but you know, it just it encapsulated the struggle. And that, like, you know, like baseball and these pro sports.
I mean, you definitely feel the pressure that they're under.
But it's not all, you know, fun and games. It's like, this is some real shit that they're going through. And it's, I don't know. It just makes you want to grind for it.
One message, like, go ahead, Sam. You can go first.
It's funny you mentioned how, like, pretty this movie is, because the Oakland Coliseum, the stadium they play at, is like...
shit!
Easily the worst professional sports stadium.
That's what they were joking about, like the whole movie.
They acknowledge that, like this. Like,
yeah.
At the very end, Billy's like, "This place is
like,
such a dumb
piece of shit."
Yeah. And they do such a good job setting it up because, like, the area just. I mean, that's probably because what it was when they filmed it. Still, it just looks so shitty. Everything looks so shitty. Even just the general area. So, like, San Francisco, Oakland. That's the Golden Gate, Sunny City. They're right there, you know. But in that whole movie, it never feels like it's ever sunny there. It's like, I don't know. There was some extra storytelling going on through that. Yeah. Like, you know, like they're in the grind, they're in the struggle right now.
I was gonna say, like, I like a message throughout a lot of this is just like that I really liked is that you just can't win them all. Like, I feel like that's kind of throughout the whole thing is like, yeah, you just like, especially in baseball, they're like, yeah, you just take some losses. That's like the whole time he's like, you cannot worry about losses. I actually really like that in the end.
But at the same time, he's also incredibly worried about losses. What did he say? They don't care if you don't win the last game, you know?
Yeah, but that was
more than he likes to win.
Yeah, but that was kind of the point in the end is that like it didn't matter, you know, like he was he would like I don't know how to explain it, but I remember like building the team and like working hard to try to get something even if he didn't succeed in the end. You know, that's why he stayed in the end. Not just winning was important.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end, he had a conversation with like the Jonah Hill.
Oh, the romantic, yeah.
And he was like, "I just want to win so that we can change the game," and that's like what he wanted to do. And like Billy Bean did change the game. Anyway. Like, yeah, he's like a big figure in the progress
And
of baseball.
and what was the video he showed him right at the end to like convince him that he did it? You know, he
It
did
was that
enough.
fat guy hitting the home run, but
And he
didn't
didn't
know
Yeah.
realize
did.
he hit a home run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus sized.
That was cool. The plus size
Bro,
You
baseball
gotta give him
player.
time.
Prince Fielder size.
Oh, my fault. I forgot Cole didn't go.
Yeah, Cole gotta go.
Oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to say, kind of to go against what Chris was saying, because he was saying, you know, he might have liked this movie so much because he loves baseball, but baseball is probably one of my least favorite sports. And I'll probably talk more about why later. But despite not liking baseball, I think this is one of the best sports movies I've ever seen. Um, just everything about it, like Nick said, the way it's shot, the way it flows from scene to scene, it always feels like things are happening and it's moving forward. Um, yeah, I just really loved it, and it's also kind of a peek at where sports are going, just because baseball was kind of first to use all the advanced metrics and advanced stats and whatever, and now like basketball, football, hockey, they're all kind of picking up on that. So it's kind of cool to see where it started. If you like sports, I guess.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
it's
I
interesting
love
even if you're
If you
not
like
super into sports.
Yeah, if you like sports, if you're into just money management, financial stuff in general, being able to do what you can with a small ass budget and still being able to take it to the big dogs.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
cool. The very beginning when they kind of set up how fucked the Oakland A's are when he's meeting with their owner. He's like, Billy, you have to be comfortable not spending money I don't have.
Yeah.
He's just fucked, dude. Like,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
just fucked.
it's a movie about like going against the system or whatever. Like this shit is rigged against us. We need to like step up and like figure out a way to like finesse the system and beat it.
You got to work
Yeah.
with what you got.
Something that the movie does kind of omit is that if you're taking like the movie at face value, which you don't need like prior information about something going into a movie, obviously.
I do
But-
wonder how realistic it is. I don't know that at
Here's
all.
the thing. So like you, based upon like how you would view this movie, you would think that like after the loss of Jason Giambi and Johnny Damon, that the A's would just be completely fucked for the 2002 season. Not necessarily the case, considering that in the 02 season, they still had like some straight up just elite players on their team, like Miguel
Was that
Tejada,
Pena or whatever?
Miguel
they were?
Tejada, Eric Chavez, Carlos
Tejada won
Pena.
MVP.
Yeah, I'd say he won the MVP. Barry Zito.
Yeah, but no one
He
wants to hear
just
about,
didn't mention that.
no one wants to hear about the good players.
I'm wondering if the omission of that information, that like they still had a pretty stacked team, like all things considered, do you think the omission of that information kind of might change your perspective on this movie at all, based upon
Yes.
what it's trying to say?
No. I think they're trying to tell the story.
I don't
like,
think-
like you said, of like
'cause-
losing the players from the season before.
Because I don't think it does. I don't think that matters. I think like because this isn't trying to necessarily say that they only became good because of these kind of tricky like 4D chess level picks of
Yeah.
players.
Mhm. And I think most of the time the general manager is like, if you win, that everyone's like doesn't really like even think about what the general manager like had a part in that. And if you lose, then everyone blames you. And so I feel like, I don't know, sometimes you just got to celebrate the fact that he made like some good decisions or whatever.
Yeah,
I
no.
will say, I was just combing over Miguel Tejada's baseball reference. His 2002 season was not that good. I really don't know how he won MVP. Like,
What's his OPS? What was his
He would
OPS?
do great.
What was his
OPS
WAR?
was like 890, like it was,
Oh.
or 860.
That's
it wasn't
pretty
even
good.
his best offensive year.
Was he? He was probably a good shortstop, right? Like statistically.
Might have been positional, but
Yeah.
honestly, dude, it goes back to the whole like the way stats were measured because he hit 300, and that's like all that mattered back then.
Yeah.
Like back then, 20 years ago. But it is kind of crazy to think like he really was not that insane that year,
hmm
but he won MVP. So
It's
John,
not-
to answer
They were pretty
to
good.
answer your question, like I don't think it matters, just because I think the movie's more about how they change the way people think about baseball,
Yeah.
and think about building a team, and that influence stays regardless of whoever the people you listed are.
Because I saw that
existed.
as a criticism of this movie. And like,
Listen to this rotation: Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, Mark Mulder. Like that's 3 like ace pitchers. Like they clearly were carried by their pitching. If you like
Was
actually
Barry
look closer
Zito
at
in his
it,
prime in 2002? Because Barry
I
Zito was
would think
around
so.
for a while.
I would think he was still good. I don't know. Hold up. I would get this.
It would be hard for me to give an opinion on this because I really don't know enough here. That's the thing. Like, you guys are getting real specific, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't fucking know.
I'll play a little devil's advocate. I
I'd say
don't think it
275
changes
ERA.
the overall general message of the movie, but I think it's going to change your scope and perspective on like how bad or actually, how awful the athletics team actually was. If they actually had like some of these core base players,
well,
it's like were they really that bad then?
well, that's the
That's
thing
what-
too.
What?
And they had to play it up though, because that's how you're gonna sell that like underdog and changing, the whole game.
that's
But
2002 was Barry
I think it
Zito's
would
best season.
change just the fact if they're a little
Not
better,
exaggerating.
you're not gonna be. They're
But
not as much of an underdog.
well, that's what
Kind of the. Go ahead, Nate.
let me get my opinion. Let me get my uneducated opinion real fast. But the movie part is good. I don't think it hurts the movie at all. But I do think knowing that will change your perception of what this sells on the system that they're talking about a little bit. Like, because if you go off this movie, it makes it feel like no one was using any of those stats or anything and shit like that. Like, they're definitely overselling that. Like, it's exaggerated on both ends is what you got to realize. Like, I'm sure it's not as drastic as we think it was. Like, all these people were straight, like, moron, like, they're running all the
I
fucking...
agree with that.
Like, no, that's not
Yeah.
what's happening,
But,
dude.
but I
Like,
think the old dudes were representative.
there's literally, let me say this because it was a funny thing to me, happened really early in the movie. There's one part where there's like, yeah, his dick comes in the room 10 minutes before he does. It's like, why are you picking? Why are you worried about this dude's dick size for your baseball team?
Yeah, I think they exaggerated the individual like people, like that were actually on the A's, but I think it was representative of like the system as a whole being biased towards certain kind of players compared to other ones, and
Yeah.
I think
It
they
was
were
wrong.
fighting against that,
That's-
and it was a good way to show it.
That's the big thing. I think like you have to kind of like. I think the movie is really saying is like it was people were just not using it right. You know what I mean? Like because they were using it, they were just missing something obviously that he saw.
Even for the
Changed
A's,
up the style of play.
even for the A's though, and like what I appreciate about this is that like it doesn't even like paint like this new system as like a foolproof, like it's gonna work 100% of the time, because like it like pretty early on it's it's showing to be ineffective, because like they can Jeremy Giambi like halfway through the season, and because he turned out to be a bust.
Yeah, and that was a guy like Billy Bean was like really for.
Yeah.
What was I gonna
I
say?
will say.
Oh, that's why I said not everything works out in this movie, though.
Yeah.
When I said like sometimes you just lose, and I like that's like so they in the movie at least it's like they did everything right and then they still lost in the end.
You just
know,
have to
it's
play
like
the odds
you-
and hope for the best.
But that's what Billy Bean says. Is like you play everything the best you can, but you can never know, and that's also what the other guy says to him. So it's like yeah, you do. Like at the end of the day, you don't know it all. Like all that shit will go out the window when it comes to that last game. All that shit kind of goes out the window, you know. It's whoever just
Didn't
plays the
they
best.
say-
that
whoever
day.
clutches up in the
I'd say, didn't they say that the Twins were kind of in a similar situation to the A's during that season?
I have no clue. Did
I
they
don't
say it in the
remember,
movie?
yeah.
I don't know because I didn't watch it. So
The Twins would have had to win their division that year, though.
it'd be funny if that didn't
I don't
happen.
We were also like 3, so I don't know if we.
Did they actually win 20 games in a row? And do they like still hold the
Yeah.
record?
Yeah.
Like I don't.
No,
I
the-
was
the
wondering
Guardians
if that
beat
was
it
true.
in 2017.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Cleveland
That's
beat it,
crazy,
yeah.
dude. Fuck them.
Yeah.
That ruins
Yeah.
the. That
Yeah,
that
ruined
hurts
the
the
whole
movie.
movie.
I ruined the whole
movie.
fucking movie. Like who
Chris, I
cares
wanna go
now?
back- I want to go back to when you were talking about how 2002 was Barry Zito's best year. By
Yeah.
like what metric? Because I don't think that
He won the Cy Young,
they're not
I think.
like the way that they're judging pitchers back then. Like Billy Bean wasn't buying bad players and winning with them. He was buying good players that nobody else.
They
thought
were
was good.
missing.
Wanted
That's
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
There were statistics that they weren't
Yeah.
You could
using.
say it was Barry Zito's best year, but nobody else would have known that. Like
There-
the only person who would have known
He
that
won
was really
23
good-
games, 23-5. That's
See,
like
that's the thing.
insane.
All
Like
these
that's a
people are
crazy amount of
probably,
games.
Like using pitcher wins and losses is like
And
basically
pitching.
like-
Remember, they didn't take the one
sacrilegious
pitcher because he
for
pitched
Superman.
weird.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because he was sidearmed.
I wonder if that's true.
Mhm.
If like, because that's the thing. I don't know what's true in this movie. If like because I can see that being real though. Because like, sports are weird like that. But that's something I like in this movie, is because that's something that can be annoying, is like the big money teams and shit like that, like the people that just buy the wins pretty much. No one likes that, dude. I mean, that shit is also like not as real as people act like it is, but it does also suck. Like
The best like kind of baseball FUD moment in this, like that would probably be realistic. Like them talking about the guy's dick size, clearly something dumb.
exaggerated,
When,
yeah.
when the one
Might
guy
be
is-
real.
I don't know,
honestly.
Sam. I don't know, Sam. Like,
Dude, when the one guy is like, he's got a solid swing when he makes contact, and Billy Bean's like, so he's not a good hitter, but he's gonna be a good hitter when we put him against big league arms. Like, so many people are like, he looks so good. Like that,
Yeah.
a lot of it is like his swing looks good, or like,
Yeah.
you brought up the sidearm pitcher, Nate. A lot of people would be like, ooh, like who does he think he is? Like he thinks he
Yeah.
can change.
Yeah,
this, and,
they
like,
said just a specialist. Like that's something.
Well,
like,
baseball is a very old sport. I mean, that's how like all old sports are. Like people just like don't even in ways that it's like chess, bro. It gets like real elitist, and people like won't take any
people-
change or anything.
yeah.
mhm.
There's always like an argument, I guess, between people that like it's like what's more important, the eye test or the numbers? It's like
Yeah.
that's what makes that whole conversation where they're like they also say like that guy's an ugly girlfriend. He has no confidence. Like
well, I would not sign a guy with an ugly girlfriend. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, come on, let's be real. None of us would.
The
I
head
mean-
scout in the movie was played
They're
by
big
someone who used to
titties.
be in the MLB that actively thinks Billy Bean ruined baseball. So like, yeah, the head guy that like has a conversation with him later.
Really, that tells them he fucked it up.
the
Yeah.
guy gets fired.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I
I
noticed.
love
Like,
that guy.
I looked at the credits. I don't think. Yeah, he's like a non-actor. He's like a.
hmm
he did a good
Damn,
job.
dude, that's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Said Billy
This is
Bean
how you
ruined
do it,
baseball.
your shit. He goes, okay, fine, okay. He's like, enough of that.
Though Billy Bean as a main character is a cool sports main like character, because it's not a story you would hear about a lot. Like a person who did go pro and flopped. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like could have did something more too on top of it. Well, not more, but he would have been better at.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
didn't do it for the sport, and now he's trying to come back and do better by it.
I like how
Which
his
is like
personal
why it's
story.
such a good story.
Yeah, I like how his personal story ties into like the strategy of building the team. Like he has to basically come to terms with the fact that the people that scouted him to be in the major leagues, like they fucked up, and now that
Yeah.
he has to go against those people and like basically come to terms with the fact that he was never going to be a good baseball player.
Yeah, there's an honesty there that I really appreciate. Like he's aware of his own
Yeah.
shortcomings and is able to see those kind of shortcomings like in other players, but also see
Yeah.
the strengths that people wouldn't even recognize.
That
Use
scene
them
when he
to
gets
their
fucked
advantage.
up and calls Jonah Hill, and he's like, after I left, you looked me up in your computer. Would you have taken me in the first round? It's like,
Yeah.
I would have passed and taken you in the ninth. I imagine you'd have taken the contract or the scholarship. He's like, all right, pack your bags, Pete.
I do like the relationship with him and Jonah Hill, because throughout the movie he like teaches him to like be like a general manager too and shit. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
He like
Is there
makes
any-
him do this stuff on his own. I don't know how real that story is also, but like in the movie it was
Probably
sweet.
not, but it was a good story.
Well, dude, you see that all the time of like, especially around the Pirates this year, when there's the one scene when they're saying like, great job by the manager for getting all these wins in a row. Like clearly he's doing like miracles with Billy Bean's like terrible team.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
Jonah Hill's like, you see what they're saying? He goes, I heard 20 wins. He's like, that's
Yeah.
what he cares about. It's so good.
Mhm. Does Jonah Hill have any other roles that are like this? Like, I feel like I've never seen a Jonah Hill movie where he has such a like a
Serious
serious,
role?
yeah, like a serious role. Yeah,
Definitely none come to mind off the top of my head.
He definitely does, but I can't think
It's
right
kind
now.
of. I mean, like I guess it's
Well,
kind of
even-
like in Wolf of Wall Street. The kind of character
I
he plays in that.
Definitely a
one.
more
I
dramatic
feel
role,
like
but he
even
was
in
being
his
funny about it.
serious roles, though, he's always got like if I'm gonna put it in percentages, even his serious roles, it's more like 25
More
or
comedy.
30%, serious, and then still just like he's got a comedic effect. In this one, his comedic effect isn't like I mean, it's purposeful, but it's not like it's funny because it's relatable. Like,
Subtle.
he's just this.
He's all
He was at
business.
his first job and then just got taken out onto
Mhm.
like imagine going from whatever job he was at the Indians, just purely office
Just
job, and now
one
he's
cubicle of
right
manager.
with the GM, right in it. He's literally like the
I do like
assistant
when he
GM.
picks him up. he ends up like meeting him at the Indians place when he's talking to
Yeah.
whatever the
GM.
general manager, yeah, their GM, and then he's just kind of catches him like asking him. He's like, "What do you do? Like, who are you?"
I did find it
That's
crazy.
great. Whose
Oh, go
nephew are
ahead.
you?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
okay, onto that part though. I love how after that he picks up, he just randomly calls Jonah. He's like, "So, I just bought you. You're coming to Oakland. Bye."
Can you just buy random dudes like
Yeah,
without
I
even
don't
asking
think you
them?
can
I guess if the dude wants to come there, yeah, you can do what you want.
He didn't really have a choice though.
Yeah,
He
no
really
shit.
didn't. It felt
Well,
like.
he could have just not went. You know what I mean?
I did
But he
think that
went.
scene was crazy because, you don't think of Cleveland as being a large market, and then he just kind of like big brothers him, and he's like, "Oh, you can't afford these players." He's like, "Let's move
Yeah.
on."
Who are
Like-
you to thought?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're the GM of Cleveland, and they had like the nicest office ever. It was just I was surprised that was Cleveland.
Yeah, I
But,
mean, especially back then, they couldn't have had a big budget, right? And it's not like their stadium would have been super nice then, because they've built a new stadium and everything since then, I believe, right?
I have
Uh,
no clue.
It's a good
They
question.
definitely have.
Yeah, they did.
Either way, yeah, it's not like they were some big budget team or anything, like you said.
yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
But it's just I couldn't imagine.
Dude, yeah, I forgot how disrespectful that one part is where he's like, outfielders in your price range.
To be fair,
But then he trades them. He calls that GM back later and kind of
He flips him.
gives
Dude,
it
he
back
is
to him.
finessing people the whole time.
Yeah.
He's really good at finessing people, dude. Probably
Yeah.
better at finessing
oh,
people.
master negotiator for sure.
Yeah, than he was at baseball. That was the end of my joke. Like he was probably way better at finessing people.
Dude, he really is like, it's so funny. Like, there's that one scene where he like proposes a trade and the guy goes, okay, sure. And then he hangs up and he's like, I think he's going to say something else there.
Yeah, he's like, but.
Can't give him the chance. You never
Dude,
know.
it's just so funny.
He's born
Yeah,
to be a
dude. And when
scammer.
they get what's that one guy's name? What was his name? With the R, that they
Ricardo Rincon.
yeah, Rincon, when they do all that finessing to like fuck up the other team's deals and stuff, so that they end up
Yeah.
getting them. Dude, that was sick. That was so clever.
Dude, yeah, he's like, I got a feeling the market for Rincon is souring.
Oh, I was gonna say the one reason, that the reason he was like, he wanted Jonah Hill was because he was giving him a bullshit deal, but he probably would have went with it usually, but he asked Jonah Hill first. That's why he was like, this motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
he called him out. Yeah, he was trying to finesse him, and he called him out. He out finessed the finesser, dude. You gotta give that some credit.
He got finessed by the nerdy looking guy over in the corner that
He
no
was
one's
pretty-
even
he was-
noticing.
He was about to beat him up. Like he was seconds away from beating him up, depending on what Jonah Hill answered there, and he ended up getting a job out of it. So it worked out.
Master observer there too.
So, did you guys notice who the owner of the A's was?
No,
Mm-mm.
No.
That I had to do a double take, and I'm glad that there were multiple scenes with him. That is Bobby Kotick, who is
Oh
the-
yeah, it is. Oh my god,
the CEO of Activision Blizzard.
What? Yeah, wait. You just connected the dots for me. It is.
why is it him?
What?
And it's like it's incredible.
I knew I recognized him, but I thought he was just like an actor in a different movie or something. But
Incredible.
Side mission for
That's
him.
weird.
Incredible
That's
that the evil fucking slime fucking disgusting piece of shit in real life plays the same kind of character in this movie.
Yeah.
Was he a piece of shit in this movie? He was just like, yeah, I don't got money to give you.
He's just a broke ass.
I mean, bro, come on. He could probably get more money somehow, but we could liken it to fucking Bob Nutten with the Pirates. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, but they didn't say that. All right, they didn't. He was being stingy.
He just broke.
Do they have the same owner now? The Athletics?
Oh, they're owned by Bobby
Probably.
Kotick.
Billy Bean is not the GM anymore.
Yeah, he just works there. He's just some guy.
Because I mean, now he's kind of
the ground
just
crew?
completely- yeah, he's a janitor.
He's a hot dog
actually.
vendor.
But now, like the owner's just kind of just given up on the city and the team, and he's just like, right? He just wants to leave.
Good.
Yeah, dude, it is really tragic what's happening to the A's in real life. Like, it is actually insane.
This movie didn't save them. Like, didn't blow them up after this.
This movie's 10 years old.
Still, like, fuck. You'd think people would be really into it from this movie.
Well, even in
Oakland's still the exact same
even-
city-wise too.
I mean, even in like 2011, the Athletics were not that great. So
They had some good
This
years.
movie was big.
Well,
The,
yeah,
ath-
but I
the
mean,
amount of times the Athletics had to like rebuild and would get hot for like a year and then trade the like just literally just
Mhm.
destroy the team, tear it down, trade everybody,
The-
and then rebuild it. Like
Well, small market team. I mean,
That's where
what he's talking about.
I disagree. Yeah, with what Nate was saying earlier, how it's not a big deal that the budgets are so different. It's like these small market teams.
I didn't say it wasn't a big deal. I said it.
He's just saying it's not 100%.
Just fucking change my words altogether.
he means it's not a
It's a
big
big
deal in the
difference.
grand scheme of everything.
Yeah.
Like kind of how like he like just puts on that CD of his daughter at the end and like he realized he's like this is kind of what matters. Like it is
Yeah.
kind of funny.
And
No, I
well,
mean,
that's the
like,
thing. Like,
Very
and
heartfelt moment.
teams win all the time that don't have like the best players in the world. They're at an advantage, and it's not fun and it's not fair. Like it's fucked up, but it's not like 100% that team's gonna win. And like
Yeah.
sometimes they get busts.
If you build a
2019
team from the ground up with a small budget, you will never be able to keep those players long term, and you will have to over and over again break it down
Or-
and restart.
Well,
I'm
if
not
the
dis- I'm not
Orioles and the
disagreeing with
Rays
that.
are
Like,
two
this
good
is-
examples of like consistent. Well, I think the Orioles will be consistently successful,
Well,
but the Rays have been that as like a poor team, a team that
Yeah.
doesn't spend that much
Well,
money.
I think
So
I
it's
also think
possible.
that's part of the point in the movie is like you build up, you get knocked down. You build up, you get knocked down. Like that's
Mm.
what happens throughout the whole movie. Like he makes a run, it doesn't work out. He makes a run, it doesn't work out. You know, but he just keeps going because that's what
Yeah.
matters. Like
Yeah.
just like him trying to be a professional baseball player, and that
Mhm.
didn't work out. But instead he stakes it all again, you know? You gotta do that every season.
Imagine being Scott Hatterberg, just some like rando baseball player that's just suddenly in like some like huge movie, and you're played by what's his name?
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. Yeah.
I would say was that Chris
That's
Pratt?
wrong.
He's
That was Chris
It'd be so
Pratt.
surreal. Yeah.
You couldn't even recognize Chris Pratt.
No,
He
I
looked-
didn't.
He looks exactly the same but skinnier. Like
Dude,
I
I'm
don't
pretty
know why I
sure-
didn't make the connection.
I'm pretty sure Chris Pratt wanted to be in this movie, and they told him he was too fat to play a baseball player, and that's why he lost the weight. And then when he lost the weight, they cast him in Guardians of the Galaxy. So
Well,
this
it worked
movie
out
might
for
be
him.
The reason why he was cast.
it worked out for him. It probably was. This is a pretty big movie. That's why I thought it would have did more for the A's because I was like, this movie pretty big. I was sure it made some athletics fans.
Yeah, I think they have more fans, but like they still suck, and then a decade of sucking, and then it's like, well, who cares? You know?
True. True.
Well, the fans have been really, vocal about trying to save the team. There's been a lot of Oakland fans.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't matter.
Or they
I guess.
showed up they bought tickets all for like one game to protest like the
Yeah.
ownership.
no one guy got his dick sucked.
What?
What?
What is this
Shout out
story?
that guy.
You didn't see
I
that?
want to hear this story. Fuck this movie. Let's talk about that.
You don't remember
fucking
that?
tea.
That was last year. Some guy was getting his dick sucked at an A's
Getting
game.
top.
Why?
Getting
He
top
was
at
he
it.
was sitting like all alone in the outfield, right? Or
It was.
or-
It was.
Oh,
It was a player, yeah.
He was sitting all
Very-
alone.
He was getting that
very
Sloppenheimer.
top back
He was
seat.
slopping himself.
What?
He's the only person like in the upper bowl, and he was the very last seat, like all the way around. Him and his girlfriend. He's getting his dick sucked. Dude.
Hell
while,
yeah,
the,
dude.
while the A's are down like 10-0.
How can you
That's
not be
my
romantic about baseball? dude?
I mean,
Yeah, baseball's a romantic sport.
How else you gonna fucking enjoy an A's game
It's in its
these days,
purest form.
dude? A 20-game win streak. What's the record now? 21. You said is it 21 or
22, I think, the Guardians.
Dude, that's pretty crazy. I don't know why I would have thought it would have been more. Like I thought just some teams would just fucking win every fucking game of baseball ever. Like they
Oh,
were
no,
just that
bro.
good.
That's just not how
That's-
baseball goes.
Technically, I think in like 1882, the Cincinnati Reds like won 60 games in a row, but there were
If it
only
happened-
4 teams.
Why are
If
we
it ha-
having this discussion? They're the best.
If it happened before the World Series was a thing, it
Movie
doesn't
sucked.
It-
Yeah,
I think it happened.
I
when,
hate
like,
this
you could
movie
hit a
now.
ball, and if it bounced once and you caught it off the first bounce, it was an out. Like
They
it's,
did.
Really?
No one were. Yeah,
That's what I was gonna say. Is I thought like old teams would like win all the time, but I don't know how old. Like I knew that old teams would win a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they passed the. I think they said in the movie they passed the 19 whatever Yankees, the really good Yankees team with Babe Ruth and everything.
Okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard to win that many games because like the best team is just like slightly more likelier than the other team to win the game, to win any
Yeah.
given game. So yeah, I was just thinking about like catchers do switch to first base, like that is a very very common thing. So I was wondering how much they played up the story of it for the movie for Scott Hatterberg to it probably wasn't the biggest.
I forget why did he have to go to first place? First base.
Yeah, his arm was
Okay.
fucked.
Terrible nerve damage.
He was the one with the nerve damage in like his elbow or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would suck.
I'm ready.
And then he clutched up when what's his face Billy Bean jinxed the game. Yeah, why the fuck would he come? Like he let his daughter tell him that shit. Like, bro, when they started, like you knew this wouldn't this wouldn't work out. Well, it did work out in the end.
They used the actual footage during that scene. It was
cool. It was cool every time they did when they would like switch to real footage of people playing.
They really
got
the use out of that song that they played it not once but twice. Like I feel like we could have had a different song, maybe. I don't know.
I like the music in this movie.
They got the use out of that main theme. They play that quite a few times.
I think this movie's like the dialogue in this movie is written incredibly well. Like so many of the jokes and little quips land so hard, and like
I think the casting is insane.
Forced. Everything's like tight in this movie. It doesn't seem like anything doesn't really need to be there.
Well, it's kind of like at parts. I like noted it down. It kind of felt like this like was almost like a documentary at points, like kind of just like how like fly on the wall a lot of the scenes feel. Because again, there's so many scenes of just like conversations, and like the way like how natural all the conversations feel. It does feel like you're kind of just sitting in during like this like mid-season or not, like a preseason and like early season, just behind the scenes like of how an organization is run.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, like the way that like you said, Sam, like how effectively they used like the actual like footage like of like games. I think Chris said that too. The way that it was like intercut, like over like.
Oh shit! You hit him.
Sorry.
The way that it was intercut with like, especially like voiceover, it felt like something you would see like in a documentary.
I'm curious if they used that actual radio interview. Like, remember when the guy after he gets fired, he calls into the radio station and he just talks a ton of shit on Billy Bean. Like, I'm curious.
Oh yeah, the guy you were talking about. I don't know. What does he say? Even I don't remember. What does he say in that? I'm trying to think.
He says they just bought a ticket on the Titanic. Is what he says.
That's a hard line, you know. if you're gonna hate on somebody,
that's efficient hating, dude. Like that's really good.
He does get an invite to the player haters ball for that one, dude.
Yeah.
Well, the manager also, I feel like he'd be invited too. He was hating pretty hard.
He was, dude.
Yeah, he says at the one point, he's like, I'm managing this team in a way that'll get me, that I can explain in interviews next summer.
Yeah, that I can get a new job.
Yeah.
And then after he did what they told him the whole time, they fucking blew up. He blew up. They're
it's funny how that shifted.
Got a big dick.
Yeah, it's funny how that shifted. I feel like the like you assume that like the general managers are the ones that make the lineups like in like today's baseball. But back then, it really like they was just a manager.
Do you think though that like the season would have turned out differently had they signed the guy with the big dick?
Yes, they would have won.
Know, dude.
They would have won. Dude.
What was his war? What was his war? Did Billy Bean
I don't
look
even
at his
remember
war?
who it was. Like, who was it? Who was the guy? Who was the big dick guy?
They measure
Can
great players.
Can we look him up by his? Can we look him up by his dick size?
Or what about the guy with the attractive girlfriend? Does that count?
Inches above
Get him on the team.
He had an ugly girlfriend. You forget. He had an ugly girlfriend. Can we look him up by his ugly girlfriend? Like baseball player with ugly girlfriend, and he comes up.
Who won
An
the
empty
World
list
Series
just
in
pops
2002?
up.
Was that the Angels?
Doesn't matter. It wasn't the Athletic.
Diamondbacks beat the Yankees. It was that year.
That was 2001.
Oh, was it?
That was 2001.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh,
nerd
shit.
off.
Who knows ball?
Wasn't
Who
it-
knows ball and who doesn't?
Who balls for
2002
real?
was the Angels. It was
Oh.
Mike Social won the World Series that year.
Oh, yeah, I had my years mixed up. That's crazy.
He went to
Yeah.
a grade school with his.
Yeah, he
Nephew.
knew that. He's not
Yeah,
just.
I'm gonna need,
Yeah, we
I'm
know
gonna need
his
Chris
nephew.
to be quiet when we start talking about baseball.
From now on, he's gotta shut the fuck up.
Sit down, little bro. Sit down.
He's just little bro.
You got Lil Broed. Getting sent to the minors after this one.
How much
Yeah.
did bro turn down again? Was it like 12 million? or something like that.
12.5 million.
I
That's
wonder,
crazy.
How much would that be worth today?
I don't know, but they
almost
said
double.
it.
20. Yeah.
They said he would have been the most
Highest
highly
paid
paid
GM in
best
history.
GM in history. Yeah, that's crazy to think.
I wonder what his salary actually ended up being at Oakland.
Probably like 20.
I don't know. To be real,
Yeah.
not worth it. Like I honestly I love the message in this movie, but in real life, like he fucked up, bro. He folded. Like he could have, he would have been way like this movie saved his life, bro. Like he probably regretted it every day. Like he probably
turned
makes
down
so much
12.5 for
nothing.
1 million. 1 million.
Imagine being
Which
imagine
is
being
still a
his
lot for
daughter.
a GM, I think.
Imagine having that much integrity.
Yeah.
It didn't work out for him though. So like, who cares? Like,
That is a hard line, dude. He's like, I only made one decision in my life on money, and I promised myself I'd never do it again.
Yeah.
he shoulda. He shoulda.
He should have done it, dude.
He should have made it on my.
Red Sox won the World Series like 2 years later.
They said that in the movie. That's why it doesn't make any sense, dude. That's why, based off of his character in the movie, though, I love the ending. It makes no sense why he made that decision. And like he should have. He would have
He
never.
had to stay
did
with
that.
his daughter. What do you mean?
I think it was fair.
Yeah.
That's $12 million. What do you mean?
He
Yeah,
could
but if
fly her out back and forth.
He can buy a new daughter.
Fly you out on a private fucking jet. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I think she would have been happy. Like, look, I get this is a movie. Like, and we got like in a movie, like, yeah, that's the way how you gotta write it. But we're talking real life. Like, you take the money. Like, take that shit.
His family. I mean, bro,
His
if he's making
family
1 million,
hates him.
that's big bread still.
His kid
It's
probably
just
hates
not-
him now.
Boston Red Sox. You know,
His kid probably.
GM.
We look him up right now. His kid hates him. Like, because she didn't take that
No.
contract.
Dude, I will say, like, if this was a bad baseball movie, because there are a shitload of those, the whole like story arc of him and his daughter would have been so terrible. Like
Yeah.
somehow that's good in this movie. Like that is like a recipe for disaster. Like we need to have like a third storyline about you and your daughter's like guitar relationship. Like,
I think it was.
That's
I
like
think
the,
it was so little. Like it was barely in it, and like I felt it was cute in the end when he listened to the song.
That's the worst part
but-
about Major
they
League
did it well.
with Charlie Sheen, where like that's like a really good like underdog like comedy like baseball movie. But like there's a romantic subplot in it, and it's fucking awful. And like luckily like the rest of the movie's like funny and like
Never
actually,
seen
like,
Major
good.
League.
Among baseball movies, I would rank it pretty high actually.
What's it called again?
Major League.
Sounds like I've seen it.
I've never watched it. I've heard of it.
It's
though.
like
I never
it's like
saw
a
the scenes in it.
80s like like
baseball comedy, like sports comedy
Yeah.
with a whole lot of heart.
Mr. 3000.
I mean realistically, yeah, that's like a pretty fitting way of describing it.
That daughter arc had recipe for disaster written all over it, and they did it well. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like I didn't want to. Like the first time you hear the song, you're like, I don't want to hear a fucking kid singing a song on a guitar in my baseball movie. But then the second time it comes up, you're like, oh,
They should have
It had a good little slow burn.
yeah, oh,
they
yeah,
should have committed
oh.
to the
Thought of-
idea that like it was bad and she was like really bad at singing, and he's like,
I think they did, but like Brad Pitt plays it off well
No, she
enough
was
that
good.
he's like, yeah, I liked it. Yeah,
I don't know.
it's
I think
funny.
no, she was
I
good.
think anyone with ears knows that she was bad at singing, and we got the point.
Dude, it's funny how he talks to his daughter like he's her GM. Or, like, he like just keeps the same cadence and like tone of
I love
voice.
when he's like, don't worry about me. Yeah, don't worry about me.
Yeah, don't
Well, yeah,
worry about
like-
it. What you need to do is this.
Yeah.
That's good at like just further emphasizing the kind of character, because like I feel like Billy is like a pretty well defined like person, aside from just like his character, where he is like like a dick. Like he's very clearly a dick, but like in a way where he is like very effective at getting things done, and like you kind of have to be a dick to do the kind of job he's doing. So, and like it's like further emphasized and like shown by his relationship with his family.
I mean, it's like what he says with his fuck, I can't think of Jonah Hill's character's name. But when he's like talking about how to tell baseball players they're fired, it's like just be direct with them. Like he just tells
Yeah.
people exactly what's going
Yeah,
on.
if you gotta fire him, you might as well just fire him. Like,
Well,
there's no
and then when they
reason
do
to-
that every
Rip off
time,
the
they're just
Band-Aid.
like, they're
Yeah.
just like, all right, and they leave. Like that's all they do really. You can
Yeah.
tell what's his name was definitely more upset about it, but
That's a
have
good
a
Jonah Hill
question.
line. He's like, would you rather have a bullet to the head or 12 to the thigh and bleed out? He's
Do I
like,
have
"Those are my
to?"
only two options.
yeah. He's like, no, he's like, do you want a bullet to the head or 5 to the chest? And
Oh yeah.
he's like, is that my only option?
Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
a
dude.
I have a question for the people in here that know ball.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't even know ball. So
That's why I'm asking.
I'm trying to be informed.
Do you think this movie oversimplified the things that they were looking at to build this team? Because they only ever talk about, how often they get on base, for one. And two, they never talk about fielding ever, or defense, or anything like that.
They do say fuck fielding like all the time.
I don't think the movie oversimplified it. I think that like the strategy is like it was like the meta at the time, but the meta has shifted, and like it isn't the best strategy. It was just better than everyone else's strategy of your dick entering the room or whatever.
I thought it was. Sorry.
Evaluating pitchers, you got to get into the weeds, dude. Because then you start talking about like FIP, and that depends on the ballpark and like the elevation of the ballpark and like the league average like fly ball to home run ratio and who's doing that. Like FIP is an insane. They probably were looking at FIP, I would imagine, because it's not a crazy hard stat to calculate, but like. Hard to explain.
No, it is because you have to
wait.
Factor
Why don't you say what FIP
velocity.
is for the people that don't know what that is?
FIP is fielding independent pitching. So
thank you. So they understand.
Right. But FIP is calculated using exit velocities and launch angles, and Statcast didn't exist until until like 2014 or 2015 or something like that.
I have no clue.
Oh, is that why they have Jonah Hill like mapping out? Like where pitches are coming in, probably. I didn't look at the screen.
Well,
they
probably had all those for a while.
Like you're mentioning,
where pitches, like where their pitches are landing, and like where you're hitting and where you're missing. Like I thought that was a really cool part of the movie, actually, when he was tracking that stuff.
Yeah, dude.
And telling people like just don't swing here. Like if they throw outside, just don't swing at it. Like fuck it.
Yeah, dude, I do like that where they're like, just take it, or like if he bunts, like who cares? Just get the out. It doesn't matter.
Take the free out, and say thank you. That's like looking at like betting, and I mean that is kind of true with that one. I would assume like just take the free out and don't overthink it. It's like the if you should switch the doors thing. It's like just take it, just take the freebie.
I don't want to bring in anecdotal, but like. It's a perfect example of what you have to do. I remember one of the Little League games, the most memorable walk-off I've ever had. I had a walk-off walk. I had a walk-off walk to get us into the playoffs.
And Nick,
you're proving Billy being right.
Yeah, it takes someone like you, Nick, with your plate discipline. The batter. Seriously, plate discipline's like a real like.
It's
never
real.
steal.
Yeah.
Just never steal. That's what they just don't ever steal. It's not worth it.
Not worth the risk.
The batter after you would have swung at all three pitches.
You do only get 3 outs. You get a whole lot of other shit. So that's the idea to it, isn't it? If you just cut it down to the simplest version
just
of it.
Don't make outs. Yeah.
Yeah. You only get 3 of those. You got. If you don't do that. If you do anything else, the game keeps going. So
I think we're overlooking the fact that Nick is a generational Little League player. Give him credit.
He was talking about this year.
Like a generational athlete right there.
He was talking about this season.
I'm actually talking about my Sunday League softball.
This season of Pee Wee baseball, Nick just did that.
No, that was my beer league softball. What do you mean?
I'm trying to
Nick
think
was
me and John played Little League and Pony League, and there was a back-to-back seasons where we lost, 33 games in a row between 2 seasons?
Yeah, we got
the last game of Pony League.
We got treated. We got the athletics treatment. Like like all the kids that like were just only there because like their parents made them do it. Like that's the teams that we would end up being on.
Yeah, dude, they were fun, man.
They were fun.
Dude, it's always fun to do. Well, look at the A's. They were having a great time losing.
Yeah.
Dude, when Jeremy Giambi
busted
it down, dude.
He was busting it down sexual style.
Sexual style, dude.
His
Blake
pants were
Bryson,
unbuttoned, dude. He was ready to go.
Yeah, he was,
I love all the like
grind
chubby
and Miguel
baseball
Tejada.
players you see in like the background, like while they're like in there. I always just thought that was funny.
Do we have any?
I will say,
final
I think this
statements?
movie is like incredibly quotable because I literally like will quote this movie pretty much on a daily basis of like, it doesn't matter. He gets on base, or like I'll just like insert something with that where it's like, what are we talking about here? Like they were clearly like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of.
This is Sam. His defect is he gets no bitches.
I quote this all the time with like the quotes,
Sam's got a negative B war.
Dude, B War. You're not using F War, dude. Get out of here.
Get some. I won't even say the rest of it.
He was gonna get racist out of nowhere. What the
I was gonna
fuck?
say, get some bitches. Is what
Oh
Yeah,
shit!
yeah.
I do have one quote I want to add on, just going back to like Billy Bean being like a master negotiator and like getting people to do what he wants and needs. And this is from when he was talking to David Justice, and David Justice is kind of talking like like I know what I'm worth sort of thing, and Billy's like, we got a problem, David. And David's like, no, it's okay. I know what you're doing. It's your routine. You're just doing this for the team to like play right essentially. And then Billy Bean's like, oh, you think you're special? And David just like, you're paying me $7 million a year, so yeah, I think I am a little bit special. And Billy's response is, I'm not paying you seven. The Yankees are paying half your salary. That's what the Yankees think of you. They're paying you $3.5 million just to play against them.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was he put that
They
man
think you're
6
that
feet
bad.
down below in the ground with that.
He was like, "Do your fucking job. Like, just do your job." Like that was
Dude,
so
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, when he
Fuck the
shits all over
Yankees.
David Justice, him and whoever the guy is, where he's like, you pay me to steal. I'm gonna steal. And he goes, no, I'd pay you to get on first, not get thrown out at second.
all of the baseball like scenes are like cut down to like basically like a montage. Like
Yep.
the percentage of this movie that's actual baseball is probably like 2%. Like it's so
Yeah.
little.
And even then,
The
like,
Which
movie
is a
does
good
not
thing, 'cause
feel
I think
that
it's better
long.
for
Honest to
storytelling.
God, like it does not feel like a 2-hour long movie.
even
It's
those,
over
It is
2 hours.
paced incredibly well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the pacing is perfect.
it's a pretty brisk to 2:13, I think.
Damn,
Well,
I didn't even
I
realize
don't
it was that long.
Doesn't feel like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it ends pretty fast. It feels like an hour and a half, like a regular ass movie.
Dude, we didn't talk about this, like all of Billy Bean's freakouts when he just destroys stuff. Like,
Yeah,
he
he's
starts
really
driving,
mad.
like doing donuts and shit. Just breaks
Yeah.
everything, dude.
Or he's always
Oh,
working
God.
out too to like let off the stress, dude.
Yeah.
Like every time there's a game and he like can't watch it because he gets so stressed, he just goes on like a run or something.
Dude, yeah, when Jonah Hill texts him like Pena at first, and he just throws the chair across the room. That was
Just
good. Oh,
spikes out the
one of my,
door.
like, it's a real quick scene, but it's like one of my favorite ones upon rewatch is when after he fires the head scout, and he goes into that random room and he goes, "You ever played baseball before?" And he's like, "T-ball, mate." He goes, "Good, you're the new head scout."
Yeah, that's about.
Hell
Just
yeah.
needed someone he can control.
Well, then he was a scout too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
he
was.
quit being a player to be a scout.
Could be in a player because he was ass.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's be
dude.
real.
Come on, it
He
wasn't a
didn't- he
choice.
wa- he didn't have it in him. It was very heavily implied that he didn't have it. That it was not a choice. He didn't have much of a choice, at least.
There's got to be a
Yeah,
player who
that-
just recognized, like, damn, I'm ass. It's time to give it up.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of players have to go through that. That's the thing. I do like that. Like he tries to like not be close with the team, but he like can't help it throughout the series of this throughout this movie, which is partially I think why he stays.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got
I
like
feel like
the,
he needed to be close with the players. Like that was like a
It helped
real,
motivate them.
a real
Yeah.
turning point for his
Well,
character.
That was
It's
like the pop can
yeah.
thing, like where they were like, "I'm not paying. I don't want to pay for pop," and he realized like, "Yeah, I'm kind of not connected with this team at all."
Well, that's on the owner though. Like
I think part of the point was
that's,
like
on, that's on Bobby Kotick.
I think part of the point though was like, fuck, oh, you made me forget what I was gonna say. Is that he wasn't like all in, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't getting invested because he assumed he had to just get rid of him. Like he didn't really care about.
He didn't want to have to break his own heart letting go of people. And
Yeah, well, he wouldn't
Shattering
really
the
commit.
world.
Yeah, that's why when he did like say we're 100%, like I don't give a fuck, we're 100% in this. Like he started actually showing up and like helping out the team more, or like talking to the players. Once again, don't know how realistic that is, but for the character, it's a great little story arc.
I did
Yeah,
think
dude.
it was funny when he has to cut the one player. It's the little brother. What was the little brother's name?
Jeremy.
Jeremy Giambi. He
He
trained
does it in the
Giambi.
meeting. He does
And
it in the meeting.
Well, no, he's talking to Jonah Hill and he's like, Jonah Hill, you have to cut this other guy. And he hates Jeremy Giambi and he's like, I'll cut it.
Yeah, he does it in the office though with the manager. Like he comes in with the manager, like you're cut. By the way,
he was
Really,
happy about that one.
said you wanted to see me. He goes, "Yeah, you've been traded to the Phillies. Jake's office has the paperwork." Jeremy's gone too.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites. That whole scene was so funny because, like I said, that 5 seconds where when he tells him and he's just standing there dumbfounded.
You said what?
Dude, yeah.
He's like, this is a you get fired over making this choice, and he's like, are you sure? He's like, look, I get fired, I'm fucked. Like, you get fired, you start a new job. Like,
In conclusion, Moneyball is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I'll keep it brief for my rating. Go ahead, Tim.
All
I
right.
give this movie a 10 out of 10, dude. This might be the movie I've watched the most. It is phenomenal through and through. I enjoy this movie like probably more like I don't know.
I don't think I
probably
could
love
give out a 10 out of 10. I don't think a movie exists that I would give it right now.
Chris is too much of a hater to ever give a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Tim, how many 10 out of 10s have you given? I've thrown out a few.
Two.
So,
Dude,
two. What was the other one?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
All right, that's fair. Like, that's a 10 out of 10 movie. So, I'll say I think. So I was like stuck between 8 and 9. I think I'm gonna go 9 because after we talked about it, I just actually kind of liked the movie more, dude. It was
Very
because
quotable.
it's a very fun, like it's definitely a movie that's worth rewatching too because it's not like too long, you know, like it doesn't feel boring ever, you know, like some of these movies can kind of drag on, but this definitely doesn't feel like that.
I watched
And
it 3
you
times
watch
for
it,
this
clips
video.
on
It's so easy to rewatch.
I really like the story of the main character, like even if that's not obviously like close to real life or anything like that, or it's exaggerated, like I think it really works in this movie. So, like I said, 9 out of 10. I did really like it. I just don't like. I feel like if I liked baseball more, then this would be a 10 out of 10 movie. But that's losing the 1 point.
This movie's like amazing. Just the pacing, the editing, the writing, everything is just almost perfect. The only problem is that this movie fails the Bechdel test, so I have to give it a 2 out of 10.
They should have added two
shit, you're
female
right,
baseball
yeah.
players too.
The guy
But-
that Billy Bean's wife remarries is basically a girl, dude. He's a fucking bitch.
It doesn't belong in America today's America. So
Yeah, but they
we're
talk
gonna
about
throw it
Billy,
away.
Sam. That's the whole point. All they
Yeah,
do is talk
exactly.
about another man.
Do you only see his wife like one time in this movie? Just like
Twice.
thinking about that. Yeah, they should show her less. Who cares? Just
my-
leave her out.
My real rating is probably a 9.5.
All right.
Dude, fuck you. Just give
I
it a
just can't-
9.
I
Or
can't
give it
do-
a 10.
I can't do 10 because, you know,
Because then
baseball's
Chris would judge you. Chris would judge you
Yeah.
for giving something a 10.
I took a note out of Chris's big book of hating. And
A 9 is basically like a perfect movie. Like there you'd have to like blow me away for it.
If I give you a 9, it's a 10 out of 10 because I just can't give you a
I
9
just
out
can't.
of 10.
Well, what about a 9.6?
I can't ride dick that hard, dude. I'm sorry.
I'll do 9.6, I guess, if I have to.
What about a 9.7?
Final verdict. Do you think it's a 9.7?
Again, you know, the lack of strong female characters. You know,
Uh,
I can't go higher. I can't.
Nick, what would you rate this movie?
I'm going in at 8.5.
Time.
Only thing I would really want more of, I would want more of like just the general like locker room talk and like just some buffoonery from all these outcasts that they
That's more
had.
locker room talk.
Yeah.
Perfect term.
It's more
Well,
Jeremy
yeah, I
Jones
don't
strip
mean
Yeah,
like
better
Trump
feel for the
locker
others.
room talk, but I
It's the only locker room talk there
I
is.
just mean like the buffoonery that is, you know,
Yeah,
a
them just like
sports team.
camaraderie and shit, like
Yeah,
having more fun.
camaraderie,
I could see
exactly.
that. That would have been cool to see.
Does anyone have a
It doesn't
scale
make
for
or
John
break the
Weir's
movie,
baseball
but
player?
that's my only complaint. I wish they would have got a little bit more of like that type of baseball world in it.
I could see that.
All right, now for
Yeah.
the only rating that matters.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Shohei
What's a
Ohtani.
scale?
I'm glad that I finally got a chance to like actually like
Special
properly
guest,
watch this
Shohei
movie.
Ohtani.
But yeah, it's definitely like it was definitely like very good. Probably not my favorite baseball movie, but definitely like
What's your favorite?
very good. That goes to Field of Dreams because that movie very much is the like romanticized baseball kind
Baseball
of story.
movie.
So
Yeah.
Because Shohei Ohtani is your profile pic, can you give your rating in Japanese?
Ooh.
John's been studying.
Yeah.
John, if would alternatively, would you rate this movie a Jung Ho Gung or from Jung Ho Gung to Daisuke Matsui? How are you?
Well,
That scale
considering
makes no sense to me.
considering that Jung Ho Gung was a Korean man,
Please give your answer in Japanese.
Oh, because he's Korean, you
shit.
like him less? He was Korean?
I'm pretty sure he beat someone up and got a DUI.
All
in Korea,
right.
so it's
Yeah, okay, John didn't say that.
Still drunk driver.
Yeah.
He said because he's Korean.
He did beat up a police officer, so yeah, I'm
Oh,
going.
then he's good. He's cool.
I'm got,
is
yeah,
what
yeah.
you're
He gets
saying.
my approval. So
He's with the people, yeah.
Jung Ho Gung out of 10.
Jungo Kung at a 10.
He's just an anarchist.
Time for the wheel.
I feel like we did a lot of dick sucking today, but if there's one movie that deserved its dick sucked, it's Moneyball. Let's spin the wheel and see what movie we're watching next week.
It's like
let's see
someone
what we're
gave it
sucking
10.
up.
Who's
Winner
dick
gets to
riding.
pick the movie for next week. There's a
Winner.
lot of stakes on this wheel right now.
Versus
Yeah.
We
Keep-
need a good spin.
Keep
Yeah,
moving
but
forward.
Kinsey goes.
Keep moving forward.
It's always
No
cold,
way is it
dude.
Chris and Cole, dude.
That's
This
insane.
is rigged.
We're in the Chris and Cole
Cole,
renaissance, dude.
congratulations,
It's
Cole.
returning.
Okay.
They're just gonna keep passing it back and forth.
Gay porn.
Don't compliment each other.
Chris knows how to.
Can we
snow.
challenge that? Can we challenge it?
Chris is pre-programming pre-programming the fucking wheel.
Can we get
Alright.
2 more spins out of that?
All right.
No, it's gone.
So I'm gonna pick a movie. I don't know the exact year it came.
I don't
out.
know the name of it.
I think it was like 2018, but it's made by Logan Paul and like King
Oh,
Batch
God,
and all the
no.
worst influencers.
Oh.
No, why
And,
would you do
And
this?
it's called Airplane Mode.
Let's go.
And,
Hell yes.
The only thing I know about it is that the poster shows an airplane dabbing. So I
Oh,
feel like
okay.
it has to be good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna watch the movie Airplane, and I'm gonna review it based on that. Okay?
All right,
I'm just
dude.
kidding.
I'll watch Snakes on a Plane.
We'll just watch themed movies.
I'm watching airplane mode.
Hey,
I'm
you
down.
might find a new favorite actor in this.
It
movie.
turns out Logan Paul was the best,
think,
my new favorite actor.
think-
this
I'll keep
whole
an
time.
open mind.
think-
Yeah,
Where
for
can
sure.
I find?
Isn't like
Airplane
Casey
Mode?
Neistat in that movie
I'm not-
or something?
I'm not gonna keep an open
Hey, I,
mind.
I have no idea.
Is it just the footage of him in the suicide forest? Is that all it is? Is it the full documentary?
I think it'll be funny.
Well, Cole,
Hopefully.
I am excited. Like I said, every time I go
It can't
into
be any Captain Alex.
I go
I'm
into a
incredibly-
movie wanting to like it. So
Yes.
I'm
Before-
incredibly
before we stop
excited
recording,
to watch a 1-star IMDb rated movie.
I'm so
Never
happy.
seen
Is it
it.
really
I've never
one
seen
star?
that before.
I'm so
Oh,
happy
man.
Cole refused to let Nick go so he could take this movie. It was so important to him that he wouldn't let Nick go.
En route to Australia, Logan is terrified. It's his first time
You didn't even
flying.
change his name?
All of his worst nightmares come true when the influencers aboard refuse to switch their phones to airplane mode. The internet is about to crash.
Oh,
Oh,
shit.
God.
God
I'm
damn.
hooked. I'm hooked.
yeah, I mean,
Oh,
shaking.
God.
I'm watching a bit of the trailer. I can't even hear it, but it essentially looks like a very professionally made long form TikTok.
This sounds
All right,
worse
like,
than 9/11.
how-
I'm gonna
how-
be honest. Like, this is worse
it
for
looks like a
planes than
skit.
9/11.
This whole movie looks like a skit.
place your bets. How much of the movie do you think is dedicated to like
What if it
actually
turned-
being on a plane?
It's definitely just like
None of it.
all it
They
is
couldn't
like
afford that.
promoting different stuff. That's
What
my
if this movie
prediction.
turned out to be about 9/11? Like, what if that's
Sam, what did
actually
you-
what
what
the
were you
plot
saying?
twist was? Like, they were on the plane.
I also can't wait till you see the special effects in this.
So I'm ready.
Dude, Nick, stop
Yeah.
stop watching the trailer, dude. You're spoiling it.
Yeah,
Trust
you're
me.
good.
It's probably like 20 minutes long.
It's an hour and where'd it go? I saw it
Too long.
earlier. Hour 20.
That's close enough. Longer than Captain Alex.
Dude. I'm pretty
That's
sure
probably
like
best.
the king of
Oh, my
racism,
God.
King Batch is in it. So
The king of
Only
racism.
spoonful. You get a giant spoon, dude.
Only a
It's,
spoonful.
it's honestly, it looks like it's gonna be hilarious. Cool.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I can't wait to talk about it.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey,
It'll
thanks
probably
for
be
watching,
fun.
everybody.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah. This.
This will be their last video they watch.